ex-casino slot technician just revealed something that casinos have been hiding for years, and what he told me could completely change the way you approach slot machines. For the past decade, casino floors have been carefully designed to steer you toward features that drain your bankroll as quickly as possible. But buried among those games are specific features that actually favor players. According to internal reports from multiple former casino employees, about 95% of slot features are engineered to maximize casino profit. But the remaining 5% have mathematical advantages that most players never even know exist. These aren't myths or gambling superstitions. These are documented features with verifiable math. And former game designers, slot directors, and floor technicians have started talking about exactly which features give you the best odds. Feature number 1, free spins with increasing multipliers. Former game designers revealed this feature has an RTP spike to 96 to 98% during the bonus round, which is significantly higher than the 88 to 92% you'll find on most base games. Here's how it works. When you trigger a free spins bonus that includes progressive multipliers, each consecutive win increases the multiplier applied to your next win. So your first win might pay at 1 times, your second at 2 times, your third at 3 times, and so on. According to internal game mathematics documentation, this creates a compounding effect that shifts the mathematical advantage closer to the player the longer the free spins continue. Dragon's Law Twin Fever is one specific example where former slot technicians reported seeing this feature produce dramatically better returns than the base game. The key insight here is that the math actually works in your favor during these extended bonus rounds because the multipliers build on themselves. Sarah, a casual player from Arizona, experienced this firsthand when she was playing a progressive multiplier game with just a $100 bankroll. She triggered the free spins feature about 40 minutes into her session, and according to her account, the multipliers kept climbing. Her fifth spin hit a moderate symbol combination, but with a 5 times multiplier applied, what would have been a $60 win became $300. By the time her free spins ended, she'd gone through 14 spins with multipliers reaching as high as 9 times, and she walked away from that single bonus round with $3,200 from her original $100 investment. Former employees explain that casinos still use this feature despite its player-friendly mathematics, because it generates exactly the kind of excitement that keeps other players watching and waiting for their turn. The visible wins create buzz on the casino floor, and management accepts the higher RTP during these bonus events because they happen infrequently enough that the overall house edge remains intact. But that's just the beginning. Feature number 2 is even better, and former slot directors admitted this is the only true advantage play left in modern casinos. Feature number 2, mystery progressive jackpots with visible meters. These are the must-hit-by progressives, and according to former casino insiders, these features create genuine positive mathematical expectation when you know what to look for. Here's how they work. A mystery progressive is programmed to award a jackpot at a random point between a minimum and maximum threshold. For example, you might see a progressive labeled as must hit by $500. That means the jackpot is guaranteed to trigger somewhere between $0 and $500, but the exact trigger point was randomly selected by the machine's programming when it last reset. Internal casino reports show that advantage players specifically hunt these features because the mathematics become favorable as the meter approaches the maximum threshold. When a $500 must-hit-by progressive reaches $487, your expected value becomes positive because you know the jackpot must hit within the next $13 of play. Former slot technicians documented cases of professional players who make over $40,000 per year doing nothing except walking casino floors, finding mystery progressives near their thresholds, and playing them until they hit. The strategy is straightforward but requires patience and knowledge of the threshold points for different games. You calculate how much you'll need to wager to reach the maximum, compare that to the jackpot value, and if the math shows positive expectation, you play. Why haven't casinos removed these features? According to former casino directors, regulatory requirements in some jurisdictions actually mandate these progressive structures, and player loyalty programs are built around them. But casinos have started fighting back by reducing meter visibility and lowering the maximum thresholds to make the advantage windows smaller. And speaking of features with mathematical advantages, wait, Until you hear about feature number 3, because former game developers admitted something about buy bonus features that's going to shock you. Feature number 3, buy bonus features with RTP disclosure. Former game developers admitted that some buy features actually have higher RTP than the base games they're attached to. And this is something casinos never advertise. When you see a slot machine offering the option to purchase direct access to the bonus round, you're looking at what's called a buy a bonus or feature buy mechanism. You pay a premium, typically 100 times your base bet, to skip the base game entirely and jump straight into free spins or whatever bonus mechanic the game offers. According to internal game specifications from multiple manufacturers, certain buy bonus features are programmed with 97 to 99% RTP, while the base game sits at 94%. This creates a mathematical situation where buying the bonus despite the higher upfront cost actually gives you better long-term returns than grinding through hundreds of base game spins hoping to trigger the feature, naturally. Marcus, a player from Nevada, decided to test this after reading about RTP disclosures in UK-regulated online slots. He spent 3 months tracking his results across 500 bonus buys compared to 500 naturally triggered bonuses on the same game. He documented every session, recording his total investment, total return, and net outcome for each method. According to his spreadsheet, which he shared with an online slots community, his purchased bonuses returned 96.4% over the sample period, while his naturally triggered bonuses, including all the base game losses required to reach them, returned 84.1%. That's a 12% difference in actual return, and former game developers confirmed that this pattern isn't unique to one game. The reason this feels counterintuitive is because you're spending 100 times your bet all at once, which creates a psychological sting that doesn't exist when you're bleeding the same amount slowly across 200 base game spins. Where can you actually find this information? In the United Kingdom and several European jurisdictions, games are required by regulation to display RTP for each feature separately. You can open the game rules screen and see exactly what the base game returns versus what the buy bonus returns. Former slot directors admitted that this regulatory requirement has created a player education problem from the casino's perspective, because informed players in these markets have started exclusively buying bonuses on games where the math favors that approach. In jurisdictions without disclosure requirements, you're operating on less information. But PR sheets, the internal mathematical specification documents that casinos use, contain this data. Some former employees have leaked PR sheets online, and Advantage players use them to identify which games have favorable buy bonus mathematics. The casino's perspective on this feature is straightforward. They allow it because players spend their money faster, sessions end sooner, and most players don't understand the underlying math well enough to exploit the RTP difference. A player buying bonuses at $100 per attempt will typically exhaust their bankroll in 90 minutes, whereas that same player grinding the base game might last 4 hours. From a casino revenue perspective, faster play often means more total money wagered per hour, even if the RTP is slightly higher. Now, you might think that's the best feature for player advantage, but former casino managers revealed something even more surprising about feature number 4, persistent state features and collecting mechanics. This is what Advantage players call vulturing, and internal casino reports show it's completely legal and genuinely profitable for players who know what to look for. Persistent state means that progress made by one player remains on the machine after they leave. If someone has been collecting symbols, filling meters, or accumulating progress toward a bonus, and they walk away before completing it, the next player who sits down inherits all of that accumulated advantage. According to former slot technicians, this creates situations where a machine sitting empty on the casino floor might have a positive expected value simply because of the work the previous player already did. Ocean Magic is a perfect example. In this game, bubbles appear randomly on the screen during base game spins, and collected bubbles increase your chances of triggering the bonus and improve the bonus quality when it hits. The bubbles persist between players. Former employees explained that a machine with 15 or 20 bubbles already collected has significantly better odds for the next player than a fresh machine with 0 bubbles. Scarab and Golden Egypt operate on similar principles, with collected symbols or coins that remain visible and active regardless of who's playing. Robert, who worked at a tribal casino for 8 years, admitted that he would text his friends when he saw abandoned machines with high progress states. He'd spot a Golden Egypt game with 12 collected onks sitting empty on the floor, send a quick message, and his friend would come in and play that specific machine because the mathematics were demonstrably in the player's favor at that point. Documentation suggests that a Golden Egypt machine with 10 or more collected anks has an expected value of 105 to 108%, meaning you're mathematically favored to profit if you play it in that state. There's a player in Las Vegas who's made this into a systematic approach. He walks the casino floors for 2 to 3 hours each evening, visually scanning every persistent state machine for high progress. When he finds one that meets his threshold criteria, he sits down, plays until the feature triggers and pays out, then gets up and continues walking. According to his own records, which he discussed in an advantage play form, he averages about $600 per week, doing nothing but finding and playing abandoned progress. Why do casinos allow this? According to former casino managers, they legally can't prevent players from switching machines, and most players don't understand persistent state mechanics well enough to exploit them. The casino's position is that the overall player population loses enough money that the small percentage who vulture abandoned progress are an acceptable cost of doing business. Some newer games have started resetting progress faster or hiding progress, indicators to combat this strategy, but hundreds of older persistent state games remain on casino floors. And if you think persistent states are powerful, feature number 5 is something several former employees said they'd play themselves if they were still gambling, because the mathematics become undeniably favorable under specific conditions. Feature number 5, guaranteed bonus frequency features. These are games that promise a bonus trigger within a specific number of spins, and former slot directors admitted these features have hidden mathematical advantages if you understand the guarantee threshold. Timberwolf Deluxe is one of the most common examples. The game guarantees that you'll trigger the bonus round within 250 spins maximum, and according to programming documentation from former technicians, the RTP structure changes dramatically as you approach that threshold. At spin 1, you're playing at the standard 93% RTP that the base game offers. But at spin 200, the mathematics shift because the machine's programming must ensure the bonus triggers within the next 50 spins. Internal game specifications reveal that the RTP effectively increases from 93% to approximately 97% as you move past spin 150 of the guarantee cycle. This matters because if you can find a machine that's already deep into the guarantee cycle, you're inheriting a mathematical advantage created by the previous player's investment. Jennifer, a player from Louisiana, has built her entire slot strategy around this single principle. She walks casino floors looking exclusively for guaranteed bonus games, and she asks floor staff or observes machines to determine where they are in the guarantee cycle. She only sits down to play if a machine is past spin 150 of its 250 spin guarantee window. According to her documented records over an 18-month period, this approach has produced 8% better returns than her previous random play across the same games. She's not winning every session, but her average loss per session dropped from $87 to $32, and her winning sessions increased from 18% of total sessions to 31%. Former casino employees explained that this guarantee feature was implemented specifically to reduce player frustration. Casino management found that players would abandon games after long dead streaks, so guaranteeing a bonus within a reasonable spin count kept players in their seats longer and reduced complaints to slot hosts. The unintended consequence is that it created an advantage opportunity for informed players who understand the mathematical structure. Some games display spin counts or progress bars showing how close you are to the guarantee trigger, making it easy to identify favorable situations. Lightning Link variants and certain aristocrat titles use this mechanic, and former slot technicians confirmed that the programming architecture requires the elevated RTP approaching the threshold to maintain the guarantee promise. The catch is that you need some method of tracking spin counts. You can't always tell by looking at a machine where it sits in the cycle unless it displays that information, so this strategy works best when you can observe machines over time or when the game interface provides progress indicators. But here's where it gets really interesting. A former game designer revealed feature number 6, and when you hear what he said, you'll understand why this might be the most player-friendly feature ever designed, even though casinos fought against including it for years. Before I reveal what that feature is, I need your help. These are the exact features former employees told me about in conversations that took months to develop, And I'm constantly adding new insider information every single week as more people from the industry reach out. If you're getting value from this, subscribe right now so you don't miss the next video because the information keeps getting more specific. Let me know in the comments what's the biggest win you've ever had on any slot machine, and tell me if you've noticed any of these features giving you better sessions. Features 6 and 7 are going to change how you think about slot play completely. Feature number 6, community and linked bonus features. These are features where multiple players contribute to a shared bonus pool or progressive meter. And this is the feature former casino managers said has the biggest discrepancy between perceived RTP and actual RTP. Lightning Link, Dragon Link, and the entire Locket Link family of games operate on this principle. You have a bank of machines, typically 6 to 12 units, all linked together. Every player's wagers contribute to shared progressive meters, and when any player triggers certain bonuses, all players at the bank can benefit from the accumulated value. According to internal casino analysis documents, linked progressives run at 96 to 98% RTP because casino management needs these features to hit regularly to maintain floor excitement and attract players to the banks. This is 2 to 4 percentage points higher than comparable standalone games. David, who programmed casino floors for 12 years before leaving the industry, admitted that casino management would deliberately set community banks to more favorable configurations, specifically because visible wins generate floor excitement that attracts other players. When someone at a Dragon Link bank hits a major progressive, bells ring, lights flash, and everyone walking past sees it happen. That visibility is marketing, and casinos accept the slightly lower profit margin on these games because they drive traffic to the entire section of the floor. The mathematical advantage for players is that shared contribution means faster progression toward bonus triggers and higher progressive values. Documentation from former floor managers shows that community feature banks hit bonuses 40% more frequently than standalone games with similar mechanics. Position matters too. Sitting at a community bank with other active players increases your trigger frequency because you're benefiting from their wagers contributing to the shared pools. A bachelorette party in Atlantic City demonstrated this effect perfectly. 6 women sat down at a Lightning Link bank together, each playing $20 bills on minimum bet. Combined, they invested about $800 over 90 minutes, but because they were all contributing to the shared progressives and triggering features that benefited the entire group, they walked away with $2,900 total. They hit 3 separate link features during that session, and each time one player triggered it, everyone's progressive values were elevated because of the group's combined play. Former employees confirmed that this outcome, while not guaranteed, happens far more frequently on community banks than players would see on standalone games. Casinos value the marketing effect of these visible wins enough that they accept the higher RTP and lower hold percentage. Individual variance still applies. You can sit at a community bank and lose your entire session bankroll, but the mathematical edge exists, and former slot directors admitted in internal meetings that community features are their lowest margin game type per square foot of floor space. And speaking of features where casino psychology works in your favor, wait until you hear about feature number 7. This one is so powerful that internal reports show casinos actually lose money on it in the short term, but they keep it anyway because of player demand and competitive pressure from other casinos. Feature number 7, re-trigger features with unlimited potential. Former slot directors admitted this is the one feature type where players occasionally achieve over 100% RTP, and the mathematics behind why this happens are both fascinating and completely verifiable. When you trigger a bonus round that can re-trigger indefinitely during the feature itself, you're entering a mathematical situation where extreme outlier events become possible. Most slot bonuses have a defined beginning and end. You trigger 10 free spins, they play out, and you return to the base game. But unlimited re-trigger features fundamentally change that structure. Every time you hit the re-trigger symbol combination, during your bonus round, you add more spins to your current feature, and those additional spins can themselves re-trigger, creating a cascading effect that theoretically has no upper boundary. According to game design documents reviewed by former employees, unlimited re-trigger features can produce wins of 5,000 times to 10,000 times your bet during extreme events. And these tail-end massive wins create periods where player expectation actually exceeds 100%. The Buffalo Series, Wonder 4, and any game displaying more free game symbols during bonus rounds operate on this principle. The mathematics work through probability compounding. Each individual retrigger might have only a 3 to 5% chance of occurring on any given spin. But when you're playing through 15 or 20 bonus spins, and each one has that independent chance to add more spins, the cumulative probability of at least one retrigger happening becomes substantial. Former game developers explain that this creates what they call runaway bonuses, sessions where the feature continues regenerating itself for hundreds of spins. Michael's experience demonstrates exactly how dramatic these events can become. He was playing Buffalo Grand at a tribal casino in Oklahoma on a 250 bet, and he triggered the free spins feature about 40 minutes into his session. The first retrigger came on spin 7 of his initial 8 free spins, adding 8 more. Then on spin 3 of that set, he retriggered again. According to the timestamps on his player's club account and surveillance footage that the casino later reviewed, his single bonus feature lasted 47 minutes of continuous play. He re-triggered the feature 11 separate times, playing through a combined total of 96 free spins, all from that one initial trigger. His ending payout from that single feature was $18,000 from his $2.50 bet, and former surveillance staff confirmed that they logged the entire sequence because events lasting over 30 minutes trigger mandatory review protocols. Casino surveillance logs document these runaway bonuses, happening 2 to 3 times per month per casino property, according to former security directors, who monitored these events. Internal discussions among game designers, leaked through former employees who attended development meetings, revealed active debate about removing unlimited retrigger potential from future games. The concern from casino management is that while these extreme events are statistically rare, each one represents a significant loss that impacts monthly hold percentages. But player demand for these features is so high that removing them would likely drive customers to competitor casinos that still offer unlimited retrigger games. Documentation reviewed by former slot analysts shows that while the base game RTP on a Buffalo machine might sit at 94%, the mathematical existence of unlimited retriggers pushes the theoretical RTP closer to 96%, specifically because these extreme outlier events, while rare, are mathematically guaranteed to occur over a large enough sample size. The strategic implication is that games with unlimited retrigger potential have higher variance, meaning your session-to-session results will swing more dramatically, but your extreme outcome potential is genuinely better than on games with capped bonus structures. Why do casinos continue offering these features despite the risk? Former employees explained that the frequency of major runaway bonuses is low enough. Roughly 1 in every 12,000 bonus triggers reaches extreme duration, that the casino maintains its overall edge across thousands of players and millions of spins. But it happens often enough that players see these wins, hear about them, and specifically seek out these games, hoping to experience a runaway bonus themselves. Player testimonials documented across online forum communities show dozens of super bonus events reported every month, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of demand. Regulatory oversight adds another layer. Some jurisdictions now cap maximum win potential on slot machines, typically at $50,000 times bet or a flat dollar amount like $1 million. And these caps effectively eliminate the unlimited advantage by creating a ceiling. But in jurisdictions without these caps, unlimited retrigger features remain the single highest upside opportunity available to slot players. Now, if Feature 7 sounds powerful, Feature number 8 is what former employees called the golden ticket, though with a significant caveat that makes it controversial and largely inaccessible to most players. Feature number 8, skill stop features in specific markets. Former game developers admitted that skill stop features in certain Asian market games can genuinely be influenced by player timing, and this represents one of the only true skill elements in modern slot design. The critical distinction here is between United States market games and Asian market games, because the regulatory frameworks and design philosophies differ dramatically. In U.S. casinos, nearly all slot machines use pure random number generation, where outcomes are determined the instant you press the spin button. Any skill stop feature you see where you can press a button to stop the reels early is cosmetic only. The outcome was already decided, and your button press simply reveals that predetermined result faster. But according to internal development documents from former designers who worked on Asian market games, certain skill stop implementations use a timing window system where player reflexes actually affect the outcome distribution. These games don't use traditional RNG in the Western sense. Instead, they employ weighted probability tables where the exact microsecond you press the stop button determines which outcome band you land in. Former developers for Pachislo-style games and certain skill-stop variations in Macau casinos confirmed that expert players who invest 10,000 hours practicing stopping technique can achieve 1 to 2% RTP improvement over published base rates. This might sound minimal, but when you're playing 10 hours per day, 6 days per week, that 2% improvement on a game with 95% published RTP can be the difference between slow losses and break-even or slight profit. Kenji, a professional player operating in Macau, built his entire career around skill-stop timing optimization, and his documented results over 18 months show 97% actual RTP on games publishing, 95% RTP. His method involved frame-by-frame video analysis of real positions, computerized timing measurement down to milliseconds, and thousands of hours of deliberate practice to optimize his physical stopping technique. Internal casino reports from Macau properties show management actively debating whether to remove skill elements from these games, because a small percentage of expert players are achieving results that impact the casino's theoretical hold. The catch for most players is that this advantage requires extraordinary dedication and practice. It's geographically limited to very few jurisdictions, and the skill threshold to achieve even marginal improvement is prohibitively high. Very few U.S. casinos offer true skill-stop games where timing matters. Legal distinctions between games of chance and games of skill create regulatory barriers that prevent widespread adoption of genuine skill mechanics in most American jurisdictions. Casino management accepts the small percentage of expert players in markets where these games exist because the vast majority of players still lose at expected rates. It's comparable to poker, where skill genuinely affects outcomes, but the house still profits overall from rake and tournament fees. The ethical consideration is that this represents the only legitimate advantage through player ability rather than mathematical exploitation of game features. But there's an important warning. Most skill stop buttons you'll encounter in US casinos are fake, meaning they provide the illusion of control but zero actual influence over outcomes. You can verify whether a skill stop feature is real or cosmetic by checking regulatory documentation for the specific jurisdiction, reviewing game mathematics disclosures where available, or consulting with advantage play communities that track which specific games in which specific markets offer genuine skill elements. We're getting to the final feature, and this one represents something former casino employees said will fundamentally reshape how slots are designed over the next 5 years. Feature number 9, customizable volatility selection. This is the feature former game designers say will revolutionize slot machines because it gives players genuine mathematical control for the first time in slot history. When you sit down at a game offering customizable volatility selection, you're looking at a fundamental departure from a century of slot design philosophy, where the casino chose every mathematical parameter and players simply accepted whatever variance profile the machine offered. According to internal game development reports accessed by former employees, these features maintain the same RTP across all volatility settings, but fundamentally change hit frequency and win distribution, and this represents the first time players have genuine strategic choice affecting their session outcomes. The mechanics work like this. Before you start playing, or sometimes between spins, you select from 3 or 4 volatility options, typically labeled as low, medium, high, or some variation using different terminology like steady, balanced, or max. Low volatility means you'll hit winning combinations on roughly 98 spins out of every 100, but those wins will be small, often returning 50 to 120% of your bet. High volatility means you might only hit winning combinations 12 times per 100 spins, but those wins will be substantially larger, sometimes reaching 50 to 200 times your bet. The revolutionary aspect, confirmed by documentation from game mathematics firms who design these systems, is that the RTP remains identical regardless of which volatility setting you choose. A game set to 96% RTP will maintain that exact return, whether you're playing low volatility with frequent small wins or high volatility with rare large wins. Lightning Box games were among the first manufacturers to implement this feature broadly, with certain next-gen releases following shortly after, and the choosy. Your volatility branding has started appearing across multiple game studios. Patricia, a player from New Jersey, ran a detailed experiment to understand exactly how this feature affected her practical outcomes. She took a $500 bankroll and played the same game. Same bet size, but split her session into two distinct phases. First 100 spins on low volatility, second 100 spins on high volatility. During the low volatility phase, she recorded 94 winning spins out of 100, and her bankroll fluctuated between $420 and $530 throughout. She ended that phase with $485, down $15 from her starting point, but she'd lasted the full 100 spins with minimal stress and relatively stable outcomes. Then she switched to high volatility for the next 100 spins. She recorded only 15 winning spins during this phase, and her bankroll dropped rapidly to $240 within the first 30 spins. But on spin 63, she hit a major symbol combination that paid 170 times her bet, shooting her bankroll up to $720. She ended the high volatility phase up $220 from her $500 starting point. The critical insight from her experiment, which former game designers confirmed matches the mathematical intent, is that both phases had the same theoretical RTP, but the practical experience and bankroll requirements differed dramatically. Former employees who attended game design meetings said this feature was created specifically to address decades of player complaints about lack of control and the feeling that slot outcomes were entirely arbitrary. Internal casino discussions, according to former management staff, show initial resistance to volatility selection features because giving players control represented a philosophical shift that made some casino executives uncomfortable. But player preference data forced adoption. In markets where volatility selection games were introduced alongside traditional fixed volatility games, player choice data showed 73% of players gravitating toward the customizable option within 6 months. Casino management ultimately accepted the feature because the mathematical reality is that RTP remains constant, so the house edge doesn't change, but player satisfaction increases measurably. This creates a rare situation where both casino and player benefit. The casino gets happier customers who play longer sessions, and players get genuine strategic control over their risk-reward profile. The psychological shift cannot be overstated. For the first time, slot players have a meaningful decision that isn't just an illusion of control. Traditional slots allow you to choose bet size, but that doesn't change the mathematics. You can choose which game to play, but once you sit down, every parameter is fixed. Volatility selection breaks that model by letting you match the game's behavior to your bankroll and goals. Former employees predict that by 2026, roughly 60% of new game releases will include some form of volatility selection driven by competitive pressure and player demand. Regional adoption varies, with UK and European markets showing faster uptake, partly because regulatory pressure for player protection features is stronger in those jurisdictions. Strategic application depends entirely on your session goals. If you're playing in a tournament format where you need a top 3 finish out of 200 players, high volatility becomes the optimal choice because you need extreme outcomes, and frequent small wins don't help you. If your goal is extended entertainment and you want your $300 bankroll to last 4 hours, low volatility becomes optimal because you're minimizing the risk of early elimination and maximizing time at the machine. For bonus clearing requirements at online casinos, medium volatility often provides the best balance between playthrough speed and bankroll protection. The comparison to traditional slot design is stark. Every slot machine built before 2015 made this choice for you. Casino management and game designers selected a volatility profile they believed would perform well on their floors, and players had zero input. Now that you know all 9 features, there's something critical former employees want you to understand about how to actually use this information, because the next part might surprise you more than anything you've heard so far. Here's what former slot directors told me that might surprise you. When you look at all 9 features we've discussed, from free spins with progressive multipliers to customizable volatility selection, you need to understand something fundamental. These features favor players relative to the alternatives available on casino floors, but they don't favor players in absolute terms. According to multiple former technicians and floor managers, even the best features still carry a house edge, typically between 2 and 6%, and that mathematical reality never disappears no matter how informed your choices become. The strategic framework you should adopt isn't about finding ways to beat the casino, because the mathematics ultimately don't allow that overextended play. What you're doing by seeking these features is making informed decisions instead of uninformed ones. And former slot directors admitted that this distinction is everything. Multiple casino employees who spent decades in the industry emphasized that player favorable doesn't mean player profit guaranteed. The mathematics remain what they are. A 97% RTP feature still means you're expected to lose 3% of everything you wager through it over time. The advantage you gain by understanding these features is that you're reducing unnecessary losses and maximizing the value you extract from your entertainment budget. Internal casino analyses reviewed by former management show that even advantage players who exclusively target these 9 features win approximately 48% of their sessions and lose 52%. The house edge grinds forward over time, regardless of how strategically you play. But here's why this information still matters in practical terms. Reducing the house edge from 8% down to 3% dramatically affects your long-term outcomes, even though you're still mathematically disadvantaged in both scenarios. Consider the actual dollar impact over a realistic play pattern. If you walk into a casino with a $1,000 bankroll and you cycle that money through the machines 5 times during your session, you've put $10,000 in total wagers into play. At 92% RTP, which represents the lower end of what you'll find on typical casino floors, your expected loss is $800 from that session. At 97% RTP, which represents the higher end you can achieve by deliberately choosing the features we've discussed, your expected loss drops to $300 from that identical session. You're still losing money in both scenarios. The house edge is still grinding away, but you've reduced your expected loss by $500 simply through informed feature selection, and you received the exact same amount of entertainment time at the machines. Former casino hosts admitted in internal training sessions that they actively prefer players who don't understand these distinctions, because the mathematics work faster in the casino's favor when players choose high house edge games randomly. Knowledge becomes your only real edge in an environment specifically designed to extract money from you efficiently. Industry insiders who left the casino business confirmed that management tracks which players demonstrate feature knowledge and game selection sophistication. These players get categorized differently in casino databases, often receiving reduced complimentary offers because their theoretical loss rates are lower than unsophisticated players betting identical amounts. The unspoken truth that former employees revealed is that casinos make their aggregate profits from uninformed players, essentially subsidizing the better outcomes that informed players achieve. Every dollar you don't lose because you chose a 97% RTP feature instead of an 89% RTP game is a dollar some other player loses because they didn't know better. Using these features is completely legal and entirely ethical. You're not cheating, colluding, or exploiting technical malfunctions. You're simply making educated choices about which games to play and when to play them based on publicly available mathematics and observable game states. Former compliance directors confirmed that advantage play using feature knowledge falls well within acceptable player behavior from both legal and regulatory perspectives. So what should you actually do with this information? On your next casino visit, start by walking the floor before you sit down anywhere. Look for persistent state machines showing abandoned progress. Check mystery progressive meters against their must-hit thresholds. Identify games displaying RTP information in their rule screens. Ask floor staff about guarantee cycle progress on applicable machines if the game doesn't display it automatically. Prioritize community banks and linked progressive games over standalone units with identical themes. Seek games advertising unlimited retrigger potential or increasing multiplier mechanics. If customizable volatility is available, match your selection to your bankroll strategy and session goals. These aren't complicated techniques, but former employees stress that these approaches work best when combined with disciplined session bankroll management. Set win goals and loss limits before you start playing, and maintain those limits regardless of which features you're targeting. Track your results over time to verify whether these advantages manifest in your personal play patterns. Some features are more common in certain jurisdictions because of regional regulatory differences or manufacturer market focus. Many of these features translate directly to online play if you're in a jurisdiction where online casinos are legal and the same mathematical principles apply. Before you play any game, you verify specifications through available documentation, whether that's published RTP data, game rules screens, or community researched information from Advantage Play forums. But understand that former game designers warned casinos are actively aware of these advantages now. Internal development meetings are producing newer games that reduce persistent state visibility, making it harder to spot abandoned progress. Must-hit by thresholds on mystery progressives are being lowered to shrink the advantage windows. Some manufacturers are eliminating unlimited retrigger potential in favor of capped maximum wins. Transparency around buy bonus RTP is being reduced where regulations don't mandate disclosure. These features exist on casino floors right now, today, but internal reports reviewed by former employees suggest continued pressure to modify or eliminate them over the next 5 years unless regulatory requirements force better player protection standards. If you want to stay ahead of these industry changes and continue receiving insider information as former employees share new details, subscribe now. I'm constantly adding new content based on ongoing conversations with people who spent careers inside casino operations. Comment below and tell me which of these features you've personally seen or played, and share whether you've noticed better session results when you target these specific mechanics. Next week, I'm revealing something a former casino executive told me about exactly how casinos identify and track advantage players in their databases and what triggers enhanced surveillance attention. This is information casino management definitely doesn't want becoming public knowledge. Until then, play smart, stay informed, and remember that knowledge is your only genuine edge.